Now on the BoiseDev podcast, it's Festival of Trees time.
Again, I love it when grandparents come with multi-generations. It's just such a special time, and you just never know what will make it memorable this year.
Our guest today, Jill Aldape with the Saint Alphonsus Foundation, next on the BoiseDev podcast.
At Corwin Ford, we've been in the car business a long time. Over 100 years, in fact. And that's long enough to know what stands the test of time. Things like trust, fairness, treating people the way we'd want to be treated, on and off the lot. Being proud to be part of a community. And as we've grown, we've always kept our relationships at the center of our business. Our customers have been our priority for over 100 years and will be for 100 more. We're honored to be a part of your journey. Corwin Ford, family-driven for over 100 years.
This is the BoiseDev podcast. Here's your host, Don Day.
Jill Aldape with the Saint Alphonsus Foundation, VP. Thanks for joining us on the BoiseDev podcast.
Of course. Happy to be here, Don. Thanks.
Okay, we're just going to tell everybody that we've recorded this once and we had an audio problem, so we're starting over. So we're going to hope that this conversation is as fun as the first one.
And as natural.
Which will only live for us in our minds. We are really excited this year to be a sponsor of the Festival of Trees.
We are so excited too. Welcome.
40th year. We're excited to join in. We'll talk a little bit about that.
Sure.
Let's start with you.
Okay.
You grew up here. You were a Boise High grad, and you started with the Festival of Trees early in your adult life. Tell us about that and what brought you to the festival.
Sure.
The foundation.
Well, there was a summer and I ran into a friend who was working at the Saint Alphonsus Foundation, and she said, I got this new job, but I need help with Excel and spreadsheets, and can you temp for me this spring? And I was like, yeah, sure, I can do that. A couple hours here and there. And I knew a little bit about Excel, no pro on the formulas, but I could, help her answer the phone
Equals
and things.
If,
there you go.
Yeah.
And so I said, sure. And I was temping and I was being a student at Boise State, pursuing a master's degree in education. And I was a reporter for the local NPR affiliate. So I was kind of juggling a lot. And as the hours grew at the foundation, it was like, well, can you do 20 hours? Can you do 30? And, there was a fork in the road where can you be full-time? And as much as I would have loved to have 3 full-time jobs, I just couldn't squeeze it all in, and I had to make some choices. And I stayed at the foundation. And fast forward 25 years, and I'm still kind of marveling like, oh, I guess that happened. Here we are.
It's like coincides with the whole time I've known you. It's always been like, oh, Jill's at the foundation. And so 25 years is a long time, 25 of 40. So there's been less time without you than there has been with you.
I suppose that's true. I hadn't done that math.
Yeah.
Yeah. The 40 being, the Festival of Trees is middle age.
Yes. Yeah. Hopefully you'll keep on going long past 80, right?
There you go. And I'm getting the tinsel. The joke is, that there's tinsel on the trees, and I'm getting more and more silver tinsel in my hair.
Yeah, I'm starting to get some of that too. You and I are about the same age, so it's good times, right?
You bet.
And we both have little ones, and that's also adding to the.
Oh, so fun.
Yeah,
Tell me about your little one.
Yep, he's 15 months old. And
15.
Yeah, and you have one too.
Yes, she's almost 8.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so
wow.
she actually helps in Santa's North Pole Village. And so now has he experienced Santa yet?
Last year, but he was like 5
not
months
into
old. So this year will be the first time that he really gets to see that.
Right. So this might sound dark, but some of my favorite pictures are the ones that come out with these kids visiting Santa and just horrified. Like they're just so like, Mom, how could you do this to me?
That is a little dark.
These kids feel so betrayed.
Come to the Festival of Trees and get a bad picture with Santa.
It's kind of part of tradition.
That's your slogan next year. You've done lots of marketing campaigns. You had the Celebrities the one year.
Oh, that's right. You remember.
You can do the dark photos with Santa.
They're hilarious. The kids always recover. It's
so
okay.
let's look at the bright side of this a little bit more.
Sure.
The Festival of Trees is such a special part of our community. 40 years ago, started in a now torn down Sears store, and now kind of maxes out the Boise Center.
Yes, and then some.
And then some. Tell us about this year and some of the new things we're going to see.
Sure. So 40 years is quite a marvel. And, when you pause and reflect, like, how did this live so long? Because so many special events, Boise River Festival being one example, But any
You thought the
special
River
events.
Festival would never end, right? And
Right.
then it did.
Right.
It has now been gone for a long time.
Sure.
Festival of Trees keeps going on.
Yes. I would say the credit goes to the volunteers. We have 2,000 people who raise their hand every year and say, I'll do this because I want to contribute to my community. That can range anything from working on a committee year round to putting in a shift to being one of the dancers or musicians who perform live at the festival. But it really is a testament to the commitment of the community who show up and volunteer their time to create this event. We also owe enormous gratitude and credit to the sponsors, those who come back year over year over year over year and support this as part of their charitable giving, and the new ones. We have a roster of people who are new to the community who've signed up to support this year, which is very exciting. It's fun to see the new names. You know, when we see a new name crop up on the sponsor reports, like, what? Who are they? Oh, great. How'd they hear of us? You know, so it's fun to oxygenate the sponsor list with new folks as well. And then I also marvel that in 40 years, the tradition lives in families, in the family unit, where people will come either right before or right after their Thanksgiving dinner and mosey around the trees, and it's what they do on Thanksgiving with their family. And so that tradition and the fact that it's infused into the schedule really makes it kind of a hardwired component of our community, and it's
So
special.
a lot of people listening to this will have heard of the festival or maybe have been there, but for those that haven't, let's kind of zoom out a little bit. Thanksgiving week starts on a Sunday.
Yes.
Not for the public, but tell us about some of the pre-activities and let's walk through the week.
Sure. So the Boise Center opens at 4 a.m. on the Sunday before, and we show up with semi-trucks and hordes of volunteers, and it is an amazing effort. You know, we've had those slow, what are those called? Those slow cameras, and then you fast forward.
Oh, yeah, like I don't know. Time lapse. There it is.
There you go.
I was going to say
That's it.
slow motion. I was like, that's
That's
not right.
not it.
Time
That's
lapse.
not it. Time lapse cameras. And it's amazing. It's like all these little ants. And so we have hundreds of people show up and help, including the design teams themselves. So this can be either a professional designer or two classrooms of kids who help design the 80 large trees that we'll have. It's also a time where people drop off their donated wreaths and tabletop trees and holiday decor items. And meanwhile, we're setting everything up. That happens on Sunday and Monday. We put the final touches on Tuesday. Tuesday morning, we invite between 80 and 100 community leaders to be judges. And these folks are educators, elected officials, media personalities, agency folks, you know, fire,
First responder
police,
types,
first
yeah.
responders. Thank you. They come and they judge the trees. And then Tuesday night is the gala. And we are sold out of the gala with a wait list, which is a good problem to have.
And that is a big room.
It's a big room. And
Biggest event space in Boise. Not that I know that right now, but it's a big spot, right?
I wish the Boise Center would, I wish their footprint had more
I think
room.
they wish that too.
I bet, because we could fill more than what
Yeah.
we've got capacity for, because we don't want to turn anyone away,
Sure.
of course. But the Boise Center has, maxed us out on the number of tables that will fit in there safely with fire code.
Very about fire code.
Fire
there.
code and even serving.
Yeah.
Their staff has to be able to be in the kitchen and create the meals for our guests. So it's a team effort with a lot of moving parts, but we're excited to welcome 1,100 people to our event on Tuesday night where we
That's
have a
a
live
gala
auction.
auction, yeah.
Yeah, so there's a live auction, which you remember from back in the day
I
when
used
you
to,
helped.
when I worked at a local TV station, crawl around the floor and pulled cable and helped with that.
The grips,
And
yes.
yeah, like literally crawled around on the floor in nice clothes. It was super fun. It's just an
Oh,
amazing.
good.
My wife and I actually, so we did before we knew each other. My wife, she was one of the people who sold tickets at the festival.
Oh,
And it
wonderful.
would've been
Oh, the
one of
raffle tickets.
Yeah, the raffle tickets. And it was
Yes.
one of the same years that I was like crawling around on the floor. And before I knew her, I probably saw her walk by and thought she was cute, which would track because I married her later. But so it has that little special thing in our hearts because it was something that we did as young people to help volunteer. And it's just an amazing part of that week.
That is so special.
Yeah,
I love that. I also
I guess doing this over is good because we didn't talk about that last time.
That's true.
So
That's really
we're
special.
finding new things.
There you go. And this comes to mind this time around too, that I happen to know two of our guests who are coming to the gala are celebrating their 30th anniversary.
Oh, wow.
And they have a second home in London, and their London friends are going to be coming to Boise, Idaho to celebrate their anniversary at the gala. And she even texted me and said, hey, my friends want to really doll up, but they're a little concerned that Boise's not going to be formal. I'm like, do it.
It is the most formal thing I've ever seen in Boise.
People,
that and Funzy maybe, but even this is like another level because it's like the holidays.
It's the holidays. People go all out. Now you see
Boise's
everything.
not a formal town. I'm wearing tennis shoes on a podcast, right? Like,
Absolutely, right. and you do see everything. I mean, there will be denim in the room, which is just fine.
Yeah.
And I
Governor
said,
Little's there might be in denim.
it could be. Yeah.
Sometimes.
And a belt.
So,
Yeah.
if the governor's in denim, it's probably okay.
Absolutely.
Although he'd probably wear a suit. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't
Should we
think,
do 10 minutes on Governor Little? No.
and what he's going to wear.
What he's going to wear. Yeah.
BoiseDev just took a whole new tack.
It did.
But you see everything. Excuse me. So the range is there, and they're very excited to come in formal attire and celebrate an anniversary, which is really romantic and sweet. And this just came up too. Oh, I shouldn't say it, but that's okay. We have a request from the Boise Center that this young fella wants to take his girlfriend through the Boise Center while we're setting up and do a proposal. And I was like, and they said, is that okay with you? Will you approve that? I'm like, how can we support? If the band is doing sound check, we should have them do music.
Adorable.
Like, let's flicker the lights. What can we
That's
do?
amazing.
I know, so special.
That's
so
cool.
it's fun when, special life moments are infused into the festival.
So the gala ends, and then Wednesday morning it opens to the public.
Right, yes.
And that is tradition.
Yes, family time.
Tell us what people will see.
Sure. So Wednesday through Sunday is our public admission, and I love and Wednesday, by the way, is our family day. So especially senior citizens come. Thanks to Norco, we have wheelchairs ready to go in case people don't want to do all that on foot. But we have visits with Santa. We have a scavenger hunt for kids. We have crafts. We have a talking tree. And of course, the famously talking tree. And we have live performances, as I mentioned, from dancers and musicians. And it's just a beautiful exhibition of the talent in our community.
So there's something new this year in the lobby, I understand, because we talked about it 10 minutes ago. Tell us about that.
Thank you for bringing that forth. Sterling Landscape is a vendor and partner to Saint Alphonsus. They've done a lot of work on campuses at Saint Alphonsus over the years. And this year, they just expressed a real enthusiasm to double down and do something super duper special in the lobby. So the main entry is sponsored by the Nicholson family, also a longtime supporter and a testament to the decades of support in the community for the festival. But the Sterling team with Dee Zabrowski, Levon Webb, Jody Hurst, and others are going to do kind of a vintage Idaho ski theme, which I did not know until recently.
The first time we taped this podcast.
What did you say? The first
chairlift was installed at Sun Valley Resort. I used to say it was invented here. Turns out it was invented somewhere else for Sun Valley, but it's first installed here. So the first one was here in Idaho.
That in the world.
In the world, yeah.
I
and now
had no
they're
idea.
everywhere. That was in the 30s when the resort launched there. And you can actually see, nerd out on Governor Little, now we're going to nerd out on Sun Valley. You can actually see on Proctor Mountain, I think, the footings and one of the towers for the original chairlift. It's still there.
Amazing.
Which is crazy. Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So kind of a fun full circle thing, 40th year of the festival, bringing this kind
History
of piece of
back.
Idaho history in.
Yes. So we'll have a chairlift in the lobby. And I think, and it's like a legit historical one, as I understand it. So, yes, a little piece of Idaho history there. I think it's going to be really special in the lobby, welcoming all the guests to the festival.
So there's one more part of the festival. We'll get to that in a minute, but there's something new that involves BoiseDev this year. And let's talk about that.
We're really excited.
We are too.
So as I mentioned, excuse me, the judges judge the tree in the categories on Tuesday morning. And that leaves out what do the rest of the people who come to the festival think? And there's a People's Choice award that BoiseDev is sponsoring this year. And so we're making an online platform for people to submit their votes. And it can be because their kid goes to school there, because they know someone who designed the tree, or because they think it's the most creative, or because it's the most beautiful. But people will have an opportunity to issue their votes for the People's Choice Award in the trees, wreaths, tabletop, and decor categories.
And this is cool. So this was done a number of years ago, but kind of on paper, and it fell away. Bring it back, and it'll be all digital on your phone. So you'll be able to do it at the festival. We'll promote it in BoiseDev AM and encourage people to vote. And we think that'll be really neat, and it'll be fun to see the things that win.
I think so too. And it will be, since it's kind of new and refreshed, we might learn a thing or two. Because right now, people don't necessarily have to go to the festival to vote, which maybe is okay. Or maybe we'll decide that we want there to be more parameters. This year is going to be a little bit of the Wild West, and we'll see what happens, and then we'll go from there.
Feels like a very BoiseDev thing, a little Wild West. We'll just figure it out.
I love it. You said we'll fall forward or whatever, so I love that learning mindset.
We really like to say here that we put readers first, and it's kind of fun because this is putting your visitors first and really putting them at the center and giving them a kind of democratic say in what they like. And, you're going to have, we talked about, I was going to say there'd be a Boise State Idaho rivalry. You shared no Idaho tree this year. So Vandals,
they got to come back. We'll get them back
next year. That next year. But lots of fun things. And it might be an organization's tree. It might be the most beautiful tree. It might be the most Bronco tree. We'll just see, right?
Yeah.
So that's going to be really fun. So that's kind of the Wednesday through Sunday part. And then there's one more piece.
The fashion show.
Yes.
So we have a luncheon and fashion show featuring local boutiques and about 40 community leaders as models. We say role models as real models. And that's always a fun time to get together after Thanksgiving. And I always recommend take the afternoon off. Come to have lunch and take the afternoon off. And it's a lot of girlfriends getting together. Some gentlemen come too, but it's a fun afternoon to wind down the festival. And then after that, we wrap the trees, and the next day we deliver them. Many going to nonprofits. And we started to talk about that earlier.
Yeah, we talked about this. And so I was really interested. I told my mom, who's now retired, that we were going to sponsor the Festival of Trees. And she was director of pediatrics at St. Luke's for a number of years.
Awesome.
And she said, I love the Festival of Trees. And that kind of surprised me, right? There's this, I don't know, not rivalry, but certainly St. Luke's and Saint Alphonsus collaborate. But there's also a little bit of rivalry. And I was like, the St. Alphonsus Festival brings a tree to St. Luke's? And every year, they bring and donate a tree to the pediatrics unit, St. Luke's Children's Hospital, which I thought was really cool and shows how this kind of drops acorns in our community. And you said that it's not just that there's lots of these examples.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, it's such an opportunity to share some love from the festival with the PEDS program at St. Luke's, which is a very strong program. I was born at St. Luke's, by the way. There you go. So it's a very special way to build on that collaboration, because we always say we are competitors, yes, and we're collaborators as being the two major health systems in our valley. And we get to partner with other nonprofits too. Donors often say, I want to support the festival, I want to buy a tree, but we've got two in the garage and we don't really need one. Which nonprofits would like one? And so we have on our roster of tasks to reach out to many nonprofits to say, if one showed up on December 3rd, would you like it in your lobby, or do you have a place for it, or would it be a burden? And many of them say, not this year, or yes, we'd love one, especially where there's kids. It's really fun to deliver those. And our volunteers, again, credit to the volunteers, they deliver the trees and then they set it up again and put that extra polish and love so that it looks good, and that the people who are receiving it don't have the task of redoing it. It just appears like magic.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It is kind of a magical week and a big part of Boise and the Treasure Valley. This is done for a purpose, and over 40 years has really had a major impact on St. Alphonsus health system. Tell us about let's do this a little differently this time. Tell us about the model of the festival, and then we'll talk about what it's going for this year.
Sure. So every year our foundation board at the Boise campus chooses among several maybe options of where the dollars should go based on the need within the organization, the strategic direction, community appeal.
And this has gone to pieces of equipment in the past and capital needs and all sorts of stuff, right?
Yes, various departments. The NEST was another multi-year campaign, which is the neuro ICU, the ICU, the NICU. It's gone to various areas, programs, and pieces of equipment, like you said. And last year and this year are a part of a multi-year commitment to oncology, because we know our community is growing, and we know that services for patients with needs with a cancer diagnosis are going to grow.
Yeah.
So this is directionally based. We believe that there will be a capital campaign in the short term to build a new facility that will serve the Treasure Valley.
Breaking a little bit of dev news here. This is BoiseDev, so we'll ask more about that in a minute.
Okay. We just know that we are growing, and we need to continue to grow, and these dollars will support a cancer institute in its current and future form.
So this is a multi-year, second year, maybe more years to come. Did you say I think you shared how much funding this generates each year?
Sure. So it's grown every year. Last year, we netted just north of $1 million.
Wow.
So that's a beautiful and significant contribution to Saint Alphonsus.
Especially because events are expensive to produce, and all those people, the Boise Center and all your vendors and all those pieces. So to net $1 million is a big deal.
It is a big deal.
A big fundraiser. Tell us about the need for oncology and cancer services and how that's grown recently.
Well, with the influx of people to the Treasure Valley and to our community, especially since COVID, a lot of folks are moving to town and working elsewhere, but live here and need healthcare here. We know that we need to accommodate their needs in all areas on the range of healthcare, and many with a cancer diagnosis need services and support. And of course, we have partners across town at St. Luke's, and sometimes physicians network together to come up with a treatment plan, or they will collaborate with physicians outside of our state. But I think we all agree that it's ideal to keep patients at home, as close to home as possible. And so sometimes that is a more complex pattern of where they get their treatment. But ideally, we want to keep people right here in the Treasure Valley if possible.
So you've seen an expansion in services and more ability to keep people here at home. It used to be, I think, unfortunately got cancer here in the 80s and 90s. A lot of that, there was obviously certainly Misty and Boise and St. Alphonsus's services there have grown, but often you had to go to Salt Lake or Phoenix or Rochester. That's still happening, but it's really important, I would imagine, to have more services and more capacity here.
We're really proud of our subspecialties as well. I mean, we have the best of the best in cardiology and neurology, and sometimes those are in layers with cancer. And so we have physicians who can address all kinds of complexities as it relates to a cancer diagnosis and treat those in ways that perhaps we didn't have that kind of depth back in, decades ago.
Yeah.
And so we're really lucky that we have this team of medical expertise.
So you talk about the funds are currently not fully earmarked, but potentially some sort of new facility. How would that work? Boise, Canyon County, still kind of figuring that out, I imagine. But
yeah, there's conceptual plans right now. I would say without a blueprint in hand, we know that we need a new space, probably here, and maybe grown services in Canyon County, Nampa, and Caldwell to treat the population that's growing out there too.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to watch and just to see how that happens. And it's at a certain level, it's unfortunate, right? We would like to see cures for cancer, and there is some hope there, I think, on the horizon. But it is our reality, and having good treatment is really important, and having it here in the Treasure Valley is even more so. And
I would add that our message this year, perhaps more than ever, is really about getting screened and preventative care. Take care of yourself so that it's not end-stage cancer.
And so those are mammograms for ladies, prostate checks for gentlemen, and good annual physicals.
Absolutely.
My doctor's office called and scheduled me for Christmas Eve in June.
Do it.
That was amazing. I was like, Christmas Eve? Really? You're asking me to... But, it's important to get in and get those annual physicals and talk to your doctor, and who knows what that may lead to, but if you don't know, you can't treat.
And the other, anecdote that has come from friends, family, patients, when something doesn't feel right, go get it checked out, because you just never know. There's lots of kinds of cancers, and you just never know. Not to be scary,
No, yeah.
but I think the message is really listen to your body and take care of it.
I saw this thing a couple months ago, and it kind of stuck with me. It was kind of one of those weird quotes that you see that usually you just ignore, and it said, if you don't listen to your body when it whispers, you'll be dealing with it when it roars. And I was like,
oh, that gives me the chills.
Wow.
That's perfect.
That's such an interesting thing, right?
That's perfect.
And so, yeah, I think as we all get older, you've got to pay attention to those clues. Maybe it's nothing, but getting it checked will help you give the peace of mind. Like I had a small mole that I was really worried about, and I went and got a check, and they're like, well, it hasn't grown since last time. And I was like, really? Okay, that's amazing, right? So that peace of mind felt good. Sometimes that's important too.
But bravo for getting it looked at.
Yeah.
And I think it's constantly that awareness that it's really easy to put off. It's really easy to assume it's nothing. And I think it's not an over-exaggeration to advise hypervigilance about your health is appropriate.
Yeah.
Without it stressing you out and
Absolutely.
being super, hypochondriac about it, but you gotta keep tabs on things.
Right.
It's easy to ignore.
All my health problems are from lifting a 25-pound child. Tell us, let's swing back to the festival.
Sure.
Tell us something that you love about it or that you're excited about.
This year in particular is kind of a fusion of the festival and the why. So it's easy to get distracted with all the lights and the glamour and the glitz of the trees and the design and lose track of the fundamental reason of why we do it. And this year, there's a very special person at the center of it all. Our Visits with Santa has been managed and led and organized by a couple, Frank and Pat Bayarjon, for 20 years. He joined the festival to help take pictures following a car crash that his wife was in, and she was treated at Saint Alphonsus. And they wanted to give back and support Saint Alphonsus, so they volunteered in the realm of photography for a while. And then they got more and more involved in the Visit with Santa experience. And they've just been so thoughtful about how do we minimize the wait time? How do we make it not feel like you're at the DMV while you're waiting for Santa?
Getting a mugshot. For some of these children, they look like mugshots.
Yes.
So,
or how can the kids how can they have a pleasant experience? So they've been so thoughtful about curating those moments at the Festival of Trees with Santa. He's done it for years and years and years. And about 3 years ago, he was diagnosed with a multiple myeloma. And so he's been in cancer treatment for the last several years. In fact, last year in 2023, he was unable to do what he loves so much, which is to spend time at the festival welcoming families to these magical visits with Santa. And when I say that they're there, they're 13-hour days. Like they have committed so much time and energy to the project of families visiting Santa. And this year, the dollars raised by all of this are going to support the services that saved his life.
Wow. Really full circle there.
So I think that that's a meaningful cross-section of, the what and the why. And I'm thinking about him a lot this year.
Well, and for kids, I mean, it's so magical. I don't think I ever did pictures with Santa when I was little, probably because it was a little too DMV-like.
Could have been.
It's cool that experience has really improved. For me, it was always the talking tree. I was like, how is that thing talking? Like, but there's so many just little magical things there that I think for people of all ages, from the littles to the senior citizens, it's such an amazing piece of our community.
I always marvel about what people draw from their experience at the festival. It could be some vintage ice skate that they know about, or this chairlift, special note, or relationships that are formed or nurtured while they're there. Again, I love it when grandparents come with multi-generations. It's just such a special time, and you just never know what will make it memorable this year. But every moment matters, and I think there's a lot of opportunity to make meaningful moments at the Festival of Trees.
Let's leave it there. Jill Aldape with the Saint Alphonsus Foundation. Thanks for joining us on the BoiseDev podcast.
Thank you, Don. Thanks for having us, and thanks for your support this year. Looking forward to it.